A Second Amendment advocate says the lawsuit Chicago has against Glock is misguided and likely unconstitutional. Alan Gottlieb from the Second Amendment Foundation, I chatted with him yesterday to get his reaction to the city of Chicago expanding their lawsuit against Glock. Welcome back. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell each and every morning, waking you up here with Illinois in Focus. Giving you stuff you need to know to get your day started. So obviously yesterday we talked about this in part with the city of Chicago suing the manufacturer Glock and saying that the switches, the Glock switches that aren't manufactured by Glock, it's just colloquially what they're called. They're also known as auto sears. These switches, they say, Glock is ultimately allowing for because of the way they manufacture their firearms. And if you track me on X, you can see the story I put together about gun rights group Chicago's expanded lawsuit against Glock, Misguided. But I do want to read through this a bit so that you can better understand some of the language that was being used in the lawsuit that Chicago filed. So Chicago expanding its lawsuit against the Glock manufacturer, but a gun rights group says that it's misguided. So last year, Governor Pritzker enacted a measure allowing lawsuits against the firearms industry, allegedly making the community less safe. The National Shooting Sports Foundation challenged that state law. The state said nobody had been harmed and asked for the case to be dismissed. A ruling's pending on whether to enjoin the law or dismiss the case. Now, separately, earlier this year, the city of Chicago used the state law to sue Glock, alleging that the company made semi-automatic handguns that can be made full auto with aftermarket parts that Glock does not manufacture. The city dropped its initial lawsuit earlier this week, but filed an expanded one on Tuesday. Now, they've said in their filing, these terrifying weapons have caused death and destruction throughout the city of Chicago. They have been recovered in connection with homicides, aggravated assaults, batteries, kidnappings, burglaries, home invasions, carjackings, and attempted robberies. The expanded lawsuit includes Glock, Glock's parent company in Austria, and several firearms retailers. And they acknowledge that the so-called auto sear or Glock switch is not manufactured by Glock. They say in their suits, many auto sears are even sold with the Glock logo printed on them, even though Glock does not manufacture them. Glock has been warned by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Explosives about the gun's design and knows it could fix the problem, but has chosen not to, putting profits over public safety and violating the law. So again, I chatted with Second Amendment Foundation's Alan Gottlieb yesterday and got his initial reaction to the lawsuits.
Well, it's Illinois law that allows Chicago to sue Glock and gun stores is absurd. And I don't think they're going to win in the long run because Glock is making a legal product. And and the gun stores are selling a legal product. If somebody alters the Glock and makes it an illegal gun, they should be going after the criminal who did it. And of course, Chicago has a great track record of not prosecuting criminals who misuse firearms. And so that's where the problem lies. And going after the industry is solely being done because they want to put gun manufacturers out of business.
The suit goes on to lay out a variety of different arguments, including saying that Chicago has an epidemic of gun violence, but Glock and the defendants are making it worse. They go on to say, here's a quote from the lawsuits, the easily modified Glock pistols sold and promoted by defendants are sought by criminals because with the addition of a simple switch, they are capable of military-grade firepower, killing and injuring higher numbers of victims and increasing the terror felt by ordinary Chicagoans. The city also alleged that the switches can make Glock handguns fire at a rate of 1,200 rounds a minute. Alan Gottlieb reacting to that as well, and just how far this lawsuit or these types of lawsuits could possibly go.
Well, it's Illinois law that allows Chicago to sue Glock and gun stores is absurd. And I don't think they're going to win in the long run because Glock is making a legal product. And and the gun stores are selling a legal product. If somebody alters the Glock and makes it an illegal gun, they should be going after the criminal who did it. And of course, Chicago has a great track record. And well, I think nobody in the gun industry or firearms dealers is safe because, quite honestly, they can say any gun used in a crime, they can go back after the gun manufacturer, the gun store that sold it. Now, again, I want to emphasize these are legal products. If people then take these products and break laws and alter these firearms to make them illegal, they should be going after those people who do that. And that's what Chicago doesn't seem to really be doing. They really want to go after the legal trade, the gun trade, not the illegal gun trade. Greg, if I could just add something here. In their complaint, they're talking about how if these guns are altered illegally, they can then fire 1,200 rounds a minute. Well, that's sort of a little false statement because there's no magazine that holds 1,200 bullets. So what they're trying to say here is that if, in fact, you had a 1,200 round magazine, which doesn't exist and isn't legal to sell in Illinois, then maybe you could fire 1,200 rounds a minute. But if you had to stop after firing 10 rounds and reload a magazine, there's no way in a minute you could fire 1,200 rounds. So again, they use this hyperbole to quote-unquote go after people and make these charges in their complaints, which are absurd.
So Gottlieb ultimately firing back, no pun intended, to some of the rhetoric that's used in the lawsuit. So amid the 3-count lawsuit alleging unreasonable sale, manufacture, and or marketing of firearms, unfair practices, and deceptive practices, the city is seeking that the court block Glock and other defendants from selling their firearms to non-law enforcement Chicago residents. They also want court order controls over the company and fines and costs of investigating and filing the lawsuit. They say in their lawsuit, by choosing to continue selling and marketing its easily modified pistols to Chicago non-law enforcement consumers, including through irresponsible dealers, and refusing to implement simple changes to the pistol design, Glock has violated numerous obligations under municipal law, the city says. But Gottlieb warned against actions of limiting handguns that are popular with law enforcement, saying ultimately that could backfire.
That's a great question. Obviously, if law enforcement is using Glocks and they put Glock out of business, they've taken away the primary firearm that their police use to protect people with. Again, there are these unintended consequences to some of these lawsuits. I've been talking to the firearms industry. Maybe what you should do for cities like Chicago is don't sell their police firearms so they can't have them to start with as a retaliation back. These are legal products, and obviously if the police use a Glock, it's because it's a decent firearm to use, and they want to use it. Why aren't they suing the Chicago Police Department for using Glocks?
Interesting questions. Obviously, this is a case that continues. I think the next hearing is going to be in November to do a little bit of a status hearing. Now, this is action that Chicago has taken against Glock, but what about the action others have taken against the state for the gun ban? It's not just Illinois that's dealing with this. You've got other states across the country that are suing or being sued by citizens in their states over gun laws, gun bans, restrictions on where people can carry, and so on. Gottlieb, he lays out just an overview of sorts of where we're at right now across the country with gun litigation and the Second Amendment rights that he says are being challenged by government with these laws, and how Illinois plays a role in all of that.
Well, there's a handful of states in the country that are extremely anti-gun and attack gun rights almost on a daily basis. Unfortunately, Illinois is one of them. And so there's a whole slew of suits filed in the state of Illinois, and eventually they're going to work their way up the court system, and one of those, I believe, is going to get to the United States Supreme Court and shut down what Illinois is trying to do.
And we'll be tracking it all, including unpacking some of what to expect heading into the September 16th bench trial in the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court, where Judge Stephen McGlynn will hear both sides with the eye on final judgment, which then that would have to go to the appeals court and then possibly up to the U.S. Supreme Court. But there could be other laws across the country challenged in the courts that make it up to the U.S. Supreme Court before Illinois' case. So we'll be watching that. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Join us each and every weekday morning. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with the Center Square and America's Talking Network.